And good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be with all of you this evening. And I've been running the topic in my mind over this past week, getting excited about what we are going to cover for this evening. I'm getting all excited all alone. It's just that I hope that this evening you will be able to get something that is useful for you. And that is basically at the core of why we are having these sessions. Now, when I say this session on parenting is a topic that we cover once a month. The fourth Thursday of every month we cover on parenting. We have the other Thursdays of the month. The first Thursday, the theme is on neurosemantics. The second Thursday, the theme is on relationship. The third Thursday, the theme is on meta coaching. And the fourth Thursday, the theme is on parenting. So that's how we cycle the topics for the discussions. And I again welcome all of you for being here. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be with you. Now, before we continue on, I'd like to, because I'm seeing new faces this evening, so I'd like to invite each and every one of you one by one to just introduce yourself, mention your name and where you are calling from. So I'd like to invite first Danielle. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. My name is Danielle. I'm from Malaysia. Yeah, so I've known some of you for some time now. So nice to meet you all here.
Right. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
And moving on to Franska, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Franska from staying in Puchong.
Yeah, from Puchong. Thank you, Franska. And Jason, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jason from Klang.
Thank you, Jason. And Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I am calling from Subang Jaya.
Subang Jaya. Great. And next, Guaching, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Guaching. I'm from Petaling Jaya.
From PJ. And going down to Joan and Lim. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Joanne, calling from Kapong.
From Kapong. Thank you for being here. And Lim, go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Edna from Klang.
Edna.
Okay. Yes, I'm currently at Jane's swimming class. I'm like 100 meters behind Jason's place. So yes, hello everyone.
Okay, great to have you, Edna. And last but not least, Satria.
Hello everybody, my name is Satria. I'm calling from Mont Kiara, Kuala Lumpur.
Mont Kiara.
First time joining.
Thank you, all of you, for joining this week's discussion. The theme again on parenting, and this week we are talking about the team's method of calmer and easier parenting. I believe that for most of you, you are here, you are coming from the perspective of parenting. And I am... who's that? Oh, Joanne. Yeah. And for most of you, you are here from the perspective of parenting. I have a little bit further perspective, is from the perspective of grandparenting. So that's a little bit of more perspective. And Shaima, welcome. Great to have you join us. Can you just introduce yourself and let people know where you are calling from, Shaima?
Hi, my name is Shaima. I am Marzuki's second child and also his favorite. And I'm at home with my kids.
Thank you, Shaima. She gets under the skin of her brothers and sisters because she claims that she's my favorite. I'm daddy's favorite, and the others just go, Okay. So this evening we'll be discussing on the team's method of calmer and easier parenting. I wonder if that is something that you would like to have happen in your parenting, that it be a calm and easier parenting as compared to parenting from the state of being agitated, angry, or turbulent, unsettled, to have it to be calm, peaceful, serene, and tranquil. Do you want to have a parenting that is full of conflict? You have clashes, contention, disagreement, quarrel with your child, or the more harmonious, agreeable, and appealing and pleasant? So those are the extremes. Well, of course, the thing about parenting is never easy. It's just that we want to make it easier, right? Because there are lots and lots of things that you need to do, because when the child is born, you are responsible for that child for the next 18 years of the child's life. So, and 18 years is no joke, because the child is developing and growing during that period, and you'll be facing lots and lots of challenges. Now, when you are facing those challenges, do you want to be facing growing your child, developing your child from the behavior or the state of having to nag the child? How do you feel if you have to bribe your child every time you want them to do something, or disciplining or yelling, or always having timeouts for the child, go and stand and face the wall, that kind of thing? What kind of parenting would that create? Okay, so what we are looking at is that we are looking at how can we parent our children so that they become more cooperative, more collaborative, more volunteering. So this is what we are looking at. Notice the spectrum of behavior. On the one side, you are then nagging at them, telling them, pick up the clothes, clean the room, and all that. Franska? So Franska is already thinking, yo, can. Oh, by the way, I've made you co-host so that you can admit people coming in. Thank you, Franska. Or you want to come to the extent whereby your child is volunteering. And for those of you who are familiar with me, I keep on giving the example of how Grasshopper, Shaima, please correct me, how old she was when one day she went up to Mama and said, Mama, can I do the laundry from A to Z? How old was she, Shaima?
Maybe about 6.
6. At the age of 6 years old, volunteering to do the work that she's been observing Mama doing, volunteer to do it. So no need to shout or scream. It is that collaborative approach to things. So these are, for those of you who are new, the example that I gave is about my eldest grandchild, my granddaughter. Her name's Azara. However, grandfather calls her Grasshopper. So those of you who are familiar with me are also familiar with the grasshopper stories. Now, the inspiration to the topic for this evening's discussion came from an article that I read, written by Michaeline Duclef. She wrote a book called Hunt, Gather, Parent. I have not read the book. I just read the article, and from that article, she mentioned that she spent quite a number of years researching the cultures, different cultures throughout the world, and she was impressed by the parenting methodology that was shown by the Maya of Central America, by the Inuit of Greenland, Canada, and Alaska, and by the Hadzabe tribe of Tanzania. So she noticed that the way that they were parenting was different, and the results were different. And we talk about the extreme because she was mentioning that her way of parenting is just like always screaming and yelling at her daughter, that kind of parenting. And yet she noticed that the people from those tribes, there is nothing of that turbulence. It's like flowing down a wide river that is meandering through the mountain valley, calm and gentle, and there is all that cooperation, helpfulness, and volunteering. And she was thinking about what's different, that these parents from these tribes were able to get that kind of result, whereas in her case, it's always that kind of conflict that she had with her. At that time, she had only one child. So with only one child, she had all that, like white water rafting kind of parenting. So instead of the white water rafting kind of parenting, she noticed that people from those tribes had a calmer approach to parenting. So she came up with the team method of parenting, and that is what intrigued me. I began to research into it further. So I'm bringing the team method, and I decided to add on and now another one at the back there to become teams. So this is what we'll be discussing this evening. And before I continue on, I'd like to welcome Hashim. I noticed Hashim just joined in, and Hurley. Great to see you here this evening. Quite some time I haven't seen you, Hurley. I hope everything's okay.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Now, one of the things that she observed that was different in terms of parenting between the, what we can say, this modern parenting as compared to the more traditional Inuits, Maya tribe, was that in the modern society, our way of parenting is we separate children from adult activities. That's the first thing that she noticed, and that is to a large extent the reason why the parenting gets into a lot more conflict. Because when parents separate children from adult activities, the children, as if they grow up in a bubble all by themselves, divorced from what's happening in real life, in what Bucky Fuller used the term livingry. So the children, they just enjoy the results of other people's good work, and they grow up without having any sense of wanting to reciprocate or be obliged that they are receiving the benefits. For example, parents make up the bed so that the children can have clean linen in their homes. Parents are the one who keep the house clean. So that's why when parents want to clean the house, they shoo the children away. Go, mommy's cleaning the house. So there is this kind of distancing between how you live your life, to the extent that I would say when she made that observation, it appeared more towards, in my opinion, it appears more towards the Western society, whereby they provide everything for the child so that the child can just enjoy the fruits of other people's labor. So that's one key observation. So the first point that she raised in that article was what she noticed about these cultures, the Inuits, the Mayas, is that they allow the child to tag along. So, and when she mentioned that, what struck me was this approach to separating the child from what the parent does came towards the end of the agricultural age and when we move into the industrial age. Because when during the industrial agricultural age, children follow the parents to the farms and they were doing what the parents were doing. And when we moved into the industrial age, parents went away from the home in order to work. So that's where the beginning of that separation between children's living re with parents living re. So children live all by their own, parents work all by their own. So when they are there together, they are just limited in terms of their interaction there. So the first thing that she noticed about those cultures was the first letter in that, and the first letter is T, that is togetherness. So where is that? Okay. Oh, yeah. So that's the first one, togetherness. Now, what's happening is that when the parents and the children are together, they are together in doing the things that are going to support their life, not just livelihood, to support their life. For example, part of supporting life is cleaning the house. So the children are together with the parents. Instead of parents cleaning the house, asking the child to be away, the children are together with the parents, helping the parents to clean the house. And depending on the child's competencies, the parents would request from the child, can you help me with this? I think that you are strong enough to help me do this. So they are together. The part of taking care of living re, the children are also involved in that, making meals together, cleaning the house together, going out and taking care of what's outside, all of that together, and children are welcome to participate in those activities. And in that togetherness, everyone is expected to pitch in with the activity. So when the parent is washing dishes, let's say, the child comes in and wash dishes. So how many of you do notice that your children are very helpful, especially when they are not so useful? They are very helpful, right? At about the age of 2 or 3, their hands are still very small. They cannot really help you fully, but that's when they are most helpful. And you begin to wonder, as they grow older, why aren't they wanting to help anymore? Part of the reason is when they were so helpful and they were not yet useful, you shoo them away. Parents shoo them away. So after some time, never mind. If I want to help mommy will tell them to go and play by myself. So that's why when they grow older, they not bother to volunteer or help. So that togetherness is about allowing and inviting and welcoming them to help according to their competencies. And basically what the point that Dr. Maria Montessori pointed out to us is that as parents, we need to to be aware that one of the reasons why children aren't they aren't more useful, they are helpful, they aren't more useful because they live in the land of giants. Those of you who are of my age, we grew up, there's a TV series called The Land of the Giants. So little children, they grow up in the land of the giants. To you, washing a cup is that easy. You hold it securely. However, for the child, the cup is this big because they have tiny hands. And that's why they are not very useful. So that is the time when they are very helpful because they want to be part of that living, that process of living. So when they are not so competent yet, that's when the parents need to accept whatever that the child is contributing according to the level that the child is able to give, to accept and appreciate the child's contribution. So the words that needs to come out from your mouth, the frequent words that needs to come out from your mouth is the words, thank you. Thank you for helping me. You're such a good helper. You're mama's little helper. Notice those are going at several levels. I'm bringing in some neurosemantics perspective to this. When you say thank you for helping me, you are appreciating the behavior. You are such a great helper. You are bringing that behavior to the level of from behavior, you are bringing to the level of role. And then when you say that you are mama's little helper, you are bringing it up to the level of identity. So you are affirming the behavior at different levels, and that sets it in. So that's why the child grows to be volunteering and to be helpful, because that's part of his or her identity, that's part of his or her role, and that's part of what she does. So it's not a chore anymore. And I hope that parents here take that out from your vocabulary. Because how do you feel when you mention the word chore? Can you help me with this chore? And the child goes, oh. So this is about reframing. Again, neurosemantics, we reframe it. Instead of giving it a name that causes the child to feel uneasy or uncomfortable for it, give it a name that makes the child want to do it. For example, when we were doing lots and lots of training for school children last time, and we give them tasks to do. At the end of the day, we'll give them tasks to do and to bring it back for the next day. We don't ever call it homework because work sounds tiring. So we call it home play. And they're so happy about doing it. So branding, parents, so it's about branding. So it's about branding the behaviors instead of branding them as chores, as responsibilities that you have to do. Brand them as something that is light and exciting for them to do. So this is what the first one, T, togetherness, accepting and appreciating the child's contribution. Yeah. So the next one is E. E is for encouragement. Okay, so I've got that. Yeah. So E is for encouragement. As the child begins to help, begin to be more useful, they begin to do things in the right way. So you encourage them. And when they are tasked to do things that are beyond them. They might feel less confident, less comfortable. So that's the part of encouragement comes in. You want to encourage them so that they will learn to want to do the things that are more complicated. Because when that encouragement is there, they'll feel more comfortable and they'll feel more motivated to do the things that they need to do. So that's the encouragement part. So this is where, from neurosemantics perspective again, to be able to say yes to the child, the meta yes. Those of you are familiar with it, to use the word yes more frequently and to get rid of the things that may cause you to say no, because no is a discouragement. So you want to create in the child's built environment lots and lots of yeses, and to get rid of all the no's, because no becomes a discouragement. So as parents, one of the things that we need to do is to stop criticizing the child and to start coaching. So this is where the skill of coaching comes in. Whenever I mention about creating the built environment that encourages yeses, I remember my son, when his son was about 6 months, 8 months, just about crawling. And what he did was, in order to get rid of all the no's, he turned his whole home into, you can say, you can call it a kindergarten. So he bought this rubber mat, you know, the one that look like jigsaw puzzle. So instead of having carpets on the floor, he rubber matted the whole floor. The storage cabinets that has glass glass shutters, he turned the whole storage cabinet so that the glass part faces the wall. Because he lived in a fully furnished home, so he cannot get rid of the furniture. So he safe-proof the whole home to the child, so that he need not say to the child, no, you can't do that. So the child grows up in an environment where everything is a yes. So this is part of the encouragement process. Yeah. So when we talk about these two elements, that the togetherness and encouragement, from neurosemantics perspective, we are looking at the states that we need to be operating from. So as parents, when we are bringing our children together to do the things that we do, let them take part in the things that we do, and we encourage them to do things that are more and more difficult, that will challenge their competencies. Key state that we need to be in is the states of love and joy. To be in those states. So with children, I find that those are the most empowering states for them. So you want to be able to manage yourself, to have the skill of managing your states, to be at, I was about to say all the time, but when you are with children, you want to be all the time, be from the state of love and joy. Even when you want to correct them from the state of love and joy. And another element that I would just like to mention is from meta programs, is to bring our meta program of counting. Whenever they do something, to count all the little things that they have done right. So this is where to have behavioral flexibility, because that meta program you want to bring to counting with respect to the successes that they have, and to shift it to discounting with respect to the things that they are not doing well, because they are not competent yet. So discounting, meaning to say, when they do things not so well, when they drop the plate and the plate crashes and smashes on the floor, to just discount it. So to the extent that I've come to the point whereby whenever, let's say, a grandchild drops a plate or drops a glass and it shatters, the first thing that comes from our mouth is, "Are you okay?" It's not about the glass that's broken. It's about the child. Is the child safe? So discounting the fact that that plate is gone. So just discount that fact. Yeah. So counting and discounting. So to be able to shift within these meta programs, so that now the child feels encouraged when they do things right, and they don't feel discouraged when they don't do things right. Because as they are developing their competencies, there are more times that they get things wrong rather than getting it right. So to be able to discount, not count the things that they do wrong, and to start counting the things that they do right. So these are the first two when it comes to this theme, togetherness and encouragement. So I'd like to pause here and give an opportunity for you to ask questions or any comments that you want to make. Yeah, I just like to read here. Edna put in there, it's been cavity sword instead of toothbrush lately. That's very nice. Cavity sword. Yes, anyone, any questions or any comments that you like to make?
Yeah, I don't have a question per se, but because I have 3 children, so the first two was a lot of trial and error, obviously as a new parent. But then I do realize what you just said with the third one, like Mama's little helper. And thank you so much, especially with the groceries. When it comes back, she loves to put things into, she loves to organize. She wants to put it in the fridge. And yes, you're right. She's so helpful, but she's not useful. But because I give her a chance to keep doing it, she is getting better at it. So yeah, I mean, but what I like what you said about that was the whole thank you. You're such a good helper, and your mama's good helper. I said it, but you put it into that neurosemantic thing. I did never really realize that. So yeah, thank you for sharing that part. I really like that one.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, what I pointed out is a single act. You are now reinforcing at 3 different levels. One is the level of behavior. Another is at the level of belief or value about self. And the other is the level of identity from a single act. So once you understand those levels, you can reinforce them very powerfully. Okay. Yes, anyone else?
I have a question. So for the points given so far for young children is okay, but I have teenagers now. And then, okay, they are very good in helping with the housework and all that. But they do things like playing games quietly, secretly, until late hours in the morning, which is actually something that's not right and we have to correct. So in that aspect, it's really hard to not discourage. I mean, so how do you handle, in that context?
Okay, so I will not go into that now, because when we go into the we have TE, AM, and especially the S part that I'm bringing the S part. So that's where we will be looking in a little bit more detail. Yeah. So thank you very much. So hold that question, especially the S part of the teams, inshallah. Yeah. Thank you, Satria. Yes, Hashim.
Yeah, I want to relate what you mentioned on the first point regarding the participation and involvement. I remember about 3 years back, my daughter, and the only daughter, she actually inherit my wife's kindergarten. And she went to Japan to see how the Japanese kindergarten operate. And when she came back, I asked her, what did she learn? She said, oh, during the makan break, the teachers will say to the children, come, let's wash the dishes. And the teachers wash the dishes. The children follow through until complete. They put in nicely and they go back to the class. And my daughter said in Malaysia, not all. In Malaysia, what happened? The teachers will say, children, wash the dish. And the teacher will be standing there. And that actually resonates to what you said, the involvement in the behavior. Yeah? And the adding to the stock is that if one of the children were found to be not doing the cleaning of the dishes, then the teacher said, you are a bad boy or you are a bad girl.
Yeah. So that's you notice, your daughter noticed that approach. The Malaysian approach is the mando approach. The parents or the teachers tell the child what to do while they just mando. Whereas what the Inuits, the Maya were doing, they were doing it. They were cleaning the dishes, they were cleaning the house, and they are just inviting and accepting the children to do the same. Yeah, so that's where the demarcation comes, the difference comes. Okay.
Yeah. On top of that, in Malaysia, she said, if that happens, then the parent will say, we got bibik ma. So they really spoil the kids at a very early age.
Yeah.
So I hope that's I hope it gives some insight into your point number one.
Yes. Yeah. So an extension to that point number one about allowing kids to tag along in the work that you do. So what to do when a child refuses to help? I mean, you are inviting them to help. So what to do when they don't want to help? Just ignore. Just ignore the fact that they do not want to help. Don't start a big argument with a child because as the Inuits, they have a saying, when a child mistreats you, so meaning to say you invite them to help, but they do not want to help, so they are mistreating you, you don't fight back with a young child, because when they behave in that way, as if they are mistreating you, when you behave in that same way, you are mistreating the child. So that is the approach, to ignore it, because that is not the behavior that you want. But if you argue about it, then it becomes silly, because arguing with children is silly and it is a waste of time. The reason why they do not want to help or they refuse to help is that they do not see what is the meaning. So this is about meaning performance. So they are not able to see the meaning of that particular behavior. So that's why they are refusing it. So instead of arguing, just ignore the behavior, because any behavior that you fight against, it will become worse. And when you argue with the child simply learns to argue and to value arguing. So this is how you create a very confrontational approach with your child. When you argue with the child says, oh, that's what I need to do, to argue back. And so it becomes from World War I to World War II to World War III. And the thing about children, they are excellent modelers. I keep using this word. They model the parents. Whatever the parents do, they just model, because as far as they are concerned, they are just like a white sheet of cloth. They are looking at the parents to notice what are the ways that I need to behave when I grow to become an adult. So when you, the parent, as the adult, you argue with the child, so the child is thinking, oh, so this is the way that I should behave with people. They don't even know the word argue. But when you say things in that particular tone of voice, with that volume of voice, they'll go in that particular tone of voice and that volume of voice as well. And the louder the voice that you go, and they go, oh, I need to speak louder as well. So what the Inuits, the Mayas did, when the child refuses to help, they just ignore that. And by ignoring, the child learns that that behavior of not helping is not wanted, is not valued. So they'll look for the behavior that is valued. Okay, so again, just giving an example of this modeling bit, Shaimak's youngest daughter, Siesha, Siesha is about 1 year, one plus, Shaimak? How old is Siesha now?
Yes, 1.5.
1.5. And I'm just amazed at how wonderful modelers little children are. Now she knows that in order to get close with grandfather, all that she needs to do is just to come to grandfather and let grandfather carry her, and she puts her head on my shoulder. I don't know who taught her that, but she discovered that when she does that, grandfather will hold her and not move away from them. So she discovered the best way to get grandfather to be close to her is to put her head on grandfather's shoulder. So they are that good when it comes to modeling. She doesn't do that with her Nemi, her grandmother, because with Nemi, she does something else to pull at Nemi's heartstring. So somehow with grandfather, she managed to detect that, oh, with grandfather, I do this. So this is how wonderful modelers little children are. And as Shaimak puts there, children are our echoes. So we speak loudly to them, they'll speak loudly to us as well. Okay, so from neurosemantics perspective, again, we are talking about meaning performance. The reason why the child doesn't want to perform, that is to help. When we ask for help, they do not want to help, is that they don't see the meaning to it. So the role of the parent is to build that meaning of doing things. And little children, they want to learn about consequences of behaviors. So for example, you want the child to help you with getting the bedroom tidy, yeah, and the child doesn't want to help. So it's about creating the meaning of what it means when you have a tidy bedroom. It means that there are no more kukuracha. Because if not tidy, there'll be cockroaches, there'll be ants and all that, and the room will be stinky. So you create the meaning of away from and meaning of towards. The meaning of towards is that, oh, when your room is tidy and clean, it's easy for you to find things. It smells so nice. So using both end of the spectrum of the meta program of running away from and going towards. You are running away from a dirty bedroom full of roaches and all that, going to bedroom that is clean. So you are bringing those meanings, because not just children, adults as well, when you see high level meaning about doing something, that's when you want to do it. So the only reason that the child does not want to help at that point in time is the child do not yet see the meaning. So you just need to bring the meaning to the level that the child understands. So this is where, again, if I want to reiterate, understanding the psychosocial development of the child, understanding the cognitive developmental level of each child, and bringing the meaning at the level that they can understand. Okay, so those are 2 points from that article. First is to allow kids to tag along. Second is what to do when the child refuses. So moving on to the third point is we need to curb the commands, instructions, and lectures. Stop commanding, giving instructions or lectures. So the next point, that A here, is, where is it? I'm going to put in that point over here. A here is autonomy, to give the child the autonomy to do things. Autonomy is about valuing a person's right to make their own decisions. So we want to value the child's right to autonomy, the child's right to make his or her own decision, to not tell the children or adults what to do. And isn't this something that we are so habituated to doing, to tell a child, to tell the child, do this, do that. Yeah. So here it's about autonomy. And when we talk about giving the child the opportunity to think for themselves, to make their own decision, this restraint style doesn't mean that the parents don't pay attention or don't care what children do. No, you as the parent, you are the caretaker about the child's safety. You need to keep an eye on what the child is doing. It's just that to give more freedom for the child to choose and to do things. So this is where autonomy is at the other end of the spectrum of helicopter parenting. Maybe you've heard of that term. Helicopter parenting is whenever the child wants to do something, the parent drops from the helicopter. No, you should not be doing this. You should do that. You should do that. Autonomy is about giving the child the freedom to make their own choice, to make their decisions. And the next point from after autonomy, the M in the theme is minimal interference. That as parents have the confidence that children know how to learn and grow without adults' constant meddling. And this is where just, when was that? Last week, we were talking about empowerment. The term empowerment is about, it is about giving the child the power to think, feel, and say and do, so that they can have full control about their powers. when parents keep jumping in, setting boundaries, giving instructions, interfering with the child's play, when parents do that, you are taking away from the child their power of thinking, feeling, and saying, doing. And the child may grow according to what you want them to do. However, the child becomes powerless. So that is why a lot of children nowadays, when I say children, we are talking about those coming up to teenagers, they just don't know how to think for themselves. I've come across quite a few cases whereby parents come to me and say, Mazuki, can you help me? My daughter has just finished her SPM and she don't know what to do next. And indeed, when I talk to them, what is it that you want to do? I don't know. The reason why I don't know happens is that since small, the parents are the one who have been making the decision. And suddenly, at 18, the parent expects the child to know how to make a decision when for 18 years of the child's life, the child has been forbidden from making decisions. So I was just about to bring that a little bit further. So that is why a lot of employers nowadays, they complain because I work with HR and all that. They complain that, this new hire, they don't know how to, they don't have initiative, they don't know how to make decisions. And I go, how do you expect them to make decisions? Because for 18, 20 years of their lives, it's the parents who've been making the decision. And all of a sudden, just because they start working, you expect them to suddenly make decisions. So this is where autonomy and minimal interference comes in, to be able to give that child the ability to make decisions rightly or wrongly. So minimal interference. When I say rightly or wrongly, there may be decisions that may be wrong from you, the parent's perspective. However, to hold that desire to interfere, because in some cases, the child needs to learn from wrong decisions, as long as the decisions doesn't hurt or harm them. Let them be. Let them be. Okay? So this is part of, from neurosemantics perspective, we have a couple of presuppositions or mindsets that we have about human being. One of them is that people are not broken. They work perfectly well. So children are not broken. They work perfectly well. It's just that maybe the strategies are not well formed yet. They are not so competent in strategies of doing certain things. However, we need to embrace that they are not broken. So they don't need to be fixed, and to be able to give them the opportunity to find their own answers. For those of you who've attended my program, you are familiar with this example about me and grasshopper. We were playing. I think she was about 4 or 5 years old at that time. So we were just funning around in the house, and she got into the split, and grandfather also went into that so-called split. I must say that I can't do a full split. Okay, I can do only about half of it. I couldn't do a full split. So I went into that split, and then I deliberately, because grandfather is the fun guy, so just for the fun sake, I said, oh, I'm stuck. So I was like that. My legs split out, and when I said that, in my mind, I was thinking that, okay, I'm going to get her to help me out. Now, from my way of thinking, is that, so if somebody is stuck like that, what do? You go to the person's back, hold the person by the torso and lift the person up, right? But she didn't do that. And luckily, I did not instruct her on how to do it, because she just took a look at me, smiled, and she crawled under my buttocks. She crawled under my buttocks and then arched her back. The moment she arched her back, she pushed my buttocks up. And that relieved the pressure. And I went, whoa, I never thought of that. And then only it occurred to me, a small child of 5 years old, do you think she'll be able to carry a 60-year-old man? No, she won't have the strength. So she came up with a solution that matches her resources. So this is what happens when you give the child the autonomy, when you give the child a minimum interference, they will use their thinking, feeling powers in order to come up with their saying and behaving in ways that will be useful for that particular situation. So they are coming out with their ideas. Yeah, and another mindset that we have about human being is that people have the resources they need to respond to the world. They only need to access, strengthen, and sequence those resources into effective strategies. So with respect to little children, if you notice that they are struggling to solve a certain issue, maybe they are arguing with a friend about who owns the tadpole, the frog that they just found under under a tree. So they might be arguing, it's my frog. The other one is saying it's my frog. So don't interfere, become the judge, saying that whose frog who owns that frog or whatsoever. Let them solve it by themselves, because in that way they are using their mental and emotional skills. They are sharpening those skills. Okay, let's pause there. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Mark.
Yes.
I was waiting for the rest. Maybe I can relate. A week ago, I was at the counter service, because I was wondering during MCO, after MCO, what happens at the counter services. So out of curiosity, I went and went to the queue, and then I was at counter number 4, and beside me counter number 3. This was one girl wanting to buy the pin for her university placement, sort of, yeah. And then the officer was asking her, "Adik ambil kursus apa?" Tak pastilah. The girl was saying. Then I was curious. This girl is going to the uni, and she was saying tak pasti. And then the officer was asking the girl, "Mak ada?" "Mak ada." So I just quipped in, "Dek, adik ambil kursus apa?" "Oh, kena tanya mak lah," dia kata. "You mean your mother decided for the course that you wanted to do?" "Ya, tanya mak." So I asked her, "Where is your mom?" "Oh, my mom is in the car." "Do you come with your mom?" "No, my father drive the car." "Oh, your father is in the car waiting for you to buy the pin." And then I asked her, "Your father sudah banyak rambut ke? Lagi sikit rambut?" And the whole staff was laughing, in there. I say, my goodness, this girl entering university and telling the world that the decision to take the course is her mother. Wow, really? I mean, the mother has not trained her to make decision out of own interest and desire. Yeah. So this relates very well with your point number 4. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hashim, for that point. Alhamdulillah. Anyone else has got something to say? Yes,
Yeah,
Sarah.
actually, to add on to that, because my husband works in HR, so he gets calls from parents about interviews for their child or that adult child. So that was quite of a what? Parents involved in the child's interview. Okay, that's the reality now.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that creates nightmares for hiring managers and HR personnel. Heli, you like to say something?
Yeah, I think this is very interesting conversation because I have an 11-year-old daughter. I don't want that to happen when she turns 18 when she wants to get into uni. So if I were to talk about it actually when she is at that age, I'm too late. So how do I avoid that actually at this stage?
So this is where you want to bring in your skills of coaching conversations, giving back the autonomy to your daughter, getting her to make decisions, and especially when they respecting the children's decision and allowing them to pursue with that decision. It challenges you, especially when you know that that decision is not the best decision for the for your daughter. However, what is important is the child learning how to use his or her powers. The reason why I say that is that my son, Shaimak's younger brother, when he was after his SPM, he really wanted to study in Japan because he's been learning Japanese for so many years and he wanted to study in Japan. And when he completed his SPM, he did not get any offer scholarship to go and study in Japan, and he was devastated about that. Then he had this notion that, okay, my SPM is not good enough for me to get scholarship to go to Japan. I'm going to take STPM. The moment he made that decision, I'm going to take STPM, my wife and I just went, oh, is he nuts? Because we know that his learning strategy, his study strategy is an active strategy. He needs to study, learn physically. Even when he was studying for his SPM, my wife would frequently remind him in the evening to go out and play football to get him physically. STPM, it is a lot more mental work, less physical. So we knew that he will not be able to do well. However, when we had the discussion, he wanted that very much. And that was when it tested us for it. So what we did was, okay, if you want this, let's register, let him register. And when he registered for his STPN, he went to, he enrolled in a school in PJ, and he went to the school. And after 6 months, he came back to us and said, no, I can't do this. Yeah. And for us to say yes to him when he wanted to do STPM was most painful, because we knew that would not be the right decision. But because he made that decision, we honored that, we allowed him. So he wasted 6 months studying that. And when he came to us, said, I can't do this. Then we went into further discussion in order to bring him into another decision. Shaima, you want to give an added perspective about Umair? Tak ada? Yeah. So that is about autonomy. Yeah. So sometimes because you have a little bit more information, that decision that they are making may not be the right one. However, I come to the point whereby, hey, maybe he can prove me wrong. So as parents, sometimes when they want to make a decision that we disagree with, maybe they can prove us wrong. What's important is for him or her to learn to make their own decisions. I hope that helps, Ellie.
Yeah, that really helps. I think it doesn't have to be perfect. If they make bad decision, in fact, going back to my situation of 11-year-old daughter, there are small things which is not, if ever she make any mistake, I don't think it would be very big, the impact. So we can take the risk as part of the learning, so that after a few rounds of making bad decision, there's some learning there. Yep.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was. I think it was it's attributed to Henry Ford. No, sorry, it was Edward E. Deming. When he was asked, what is the secret to your success? I can't remember, is it Deming or Henry Ford? So he says, one word, experience. And the reporter asked him again, so how did you get this experience? What is the secret to your success? He says 2 words, right decisions. And the reporter asked him, so how do you manage to get to right decision? 1 word, experience. And then the reporter is, where do you get that experience? 2 words, wrong decisions. So sometimes we need to make the wrong decisions in order to gain the experience, in order to make the right decisions.
as long as it's calculated risk, actually, that any decision is not as bad. I mean, yeah, before a bigger decision make. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you. So moving on, when I look at the 4 items, that is, the first one is togetherness. Second one, encouragement. The third one, autonomy. And the fourth one is minimal interference. So understanding those, then I begin to approach it from another angle. So this is where approaching it from the angle of mismatching, asking the question, what's missing? Are those all that we need in order to help us to get that child who is cooperative, who is willing to collaborate with us, or is there something missing? What's the limit? What's the boundary? What I realized, what I thought about is that the thing about giving our children autonomy and minimal interferences, it will work when the child has the knowledge to evaluate what is safe, what is unsafe, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Because when you give the child the autonomy, when they don't have that knowledge, it can be dangerous. I mean, you know, your children from young, they have been trying to kill themselves because they don't know that a knife is sharp and can cut what do you call it, 3-story apartment is dangerous if you were to fall. They don't know that. Yeah? So without knowledge, autonomy and minimal interference can be dangerous. So going to the A and M, autonomy and minimal interference, we need to know, oh, there's that boundary. They need to have content. So that's when parents need to bring content, because without the content, use of autonomy and minimal interference can be harmful to the child. So this is where I realized what's missing from that particular article are the beliefs and values. Because when children are driven by right beliefs and values, then they can use the autonomy and minimal interference to the best of their ability. However, without the right beliefs and values, because the meaning-making process, there is no quality control to meaning-making process. So a child that comes from the value of, I want this, and just grabs it from a smaller child and notices, oh, I got this, and not having the value of, not yet learning the value of other people's belonging, not yet learning the value of not hurting others, might make that meaning that, oh, if I need anything, I'll just take. Even if it's from others, I'll just take. So that is the danger to autonomy and minimal interference if they are not being what's the word to use here? If they are not guided by beliefs and values that are well accepted by society. So this is where I come to the next point that I bring in instead of theme. When I look back at the Inuits, the Mayas, what I also notice is that in their culture, they have this storytelling. And especially when I read about the Inuits, they engage with their young ones a lot through stories. And what stories do is stories will bring beliefs and values into the child's life. So this is the 5th item that I would like to bring to you, because traditional societies and communities, they are rich in storytellings. In the Malay culture, we call it cerita rakyat, cerita dongeng. By the way, be careful, because a lot of the cerita dongeng are also rubbish. So you need to parents need to censor that to be able to hold that. And if you were to, we look back, say the Chinese culture, the Indian culture, it is rich with stories. And it is through stories that our forefathers have brought beliefs and values into our lives. Because what happens is that through stories, our forefathers bring in perspectives and evaluations, how to evaluate things are good and how to evaluate things are bad. At the same time, when we bring in perspectives and evaluations, we also, as parents nowadays, needs to bring multiple perspectives and to bring in a range of evaluations. Because if we were only to bring in a singular perspective, that will cause the child to grow up to become very close-minded. So we need to bring in multiple perspectives. This is how I see it. This is how your grandfather sees it. This is how your friend sees it. So having that multiple perspective allows the child's mind to be more open. Otherwise, they become closed and they become bigoted in their perspectives. So having a wide range, multiple perspective and range of ways of looking at things, that gives them the behavioral flexibility. Meaning to say, from the stories, they learn about beliefs and values that allows them to behave in one way in one situation and to behave in another way in another situation. So going back to that experience with Siesha, I noticed that she has multiple strategies in getting people to love her. With grandfather, she just needs to put her head on grandfather's shoulder and grandfather chai already. With Nami, she has a different strategy. And this is very useful because when they grow up, they are faced with different types of people. In order to get what they want, they need to use one strategy for this person, another strategy for this person. So as parents, when we bring in the stories, not just from one particular way, to show them this way of behaving is useful in this particular scenario. Yeah. And where does this storytelling comes in? Through the daily conversations. So even when your child is only 6 months old, or okay, make it 8 months old, crawling already, and you are there cooking an omelette for breakfast. So that's when the storytelling comes in. Just so even if the child is down there and you cannot bring the child close to the stuff, just be storytelling to the child. Oh, mama is okay, never mind. I can see Jason there. I can see part of Marilyn there. So let's say Jason's the one who's cooking the omelette. Jason can say, oh, daddy is cooking omelette right now in order to have, we can have for breakfast. Daddy is cracking the eggs and on some butter. And now, so that's the storytelling. So parents need to, because the storytelling is going to tell the child about cause and effect. So daddy needs to heat up the pan first and then put in some butter to melt the butter. Only then daddy puts in the eggs, cause and effect. If daddy puts the eggs straight away and not put butter, then the eggs may get stuck on the pan, cause and effect. Certain things that are direct cause and effect, certain things that are complex cause and effect. So by storytelling, we are bringing in beliefs and values into the child's life. Yeah, and the storytelling needs to be continuously done. So parents, learn to be storytellers. Tell stories instead of being the headmaster. Oh, don't do that, don't do this. Tell stories. Because the way stories work is that our unconscious reactive, it detects stories and takes things personally. So when the child is hearing a story, the child is taking that as a message to themselves. So you don't need to go into, and the learning from this story is, you don't need to do that. The child can do that by himself. Just tell the stories to them. And stories must be narrated prior to the fact. So meaning to say, let's say you know that your child is going to be playing with his cousin. So your child is 9 what I call 1 year old, and the cousin is 1.5 years old, and the cousin is going to come to the house, and you're thinking, okay, so 1.5 years old, so he might be individuating at this point. So you want to preempt that interaction. Use stories before that. What tends to happen, most parents, is they let the child play and something goes wrong. So that's when they want to become the referee. Yeah. So tell stories before the fact. When they are interacting, minimal interference, they get upset, let them get upset. After that, this is where the skill of debriefing comes in. To use questions to get the child to bring out to you what they learn, what meanings that they got from that particular interaction. And through the use of meaning making and storytelling, to bring to the child different perspectives of what they need to take from that. And of course, these conversations need to match their developmental stage. So you don't need to be also canggih when the child is only 2. The child hasn't reached to that level yet to bring in that discussion to that particular level. And when we talk about stories, beware of media that is available to them now. So when it comes to stories, you are competing with YouTube, with TikTok, you are competing with Netflix or whatever it is. So beware that what they are watching on that screen matches the values that you want your children to grow up with. One of the things that I noticed just recently, that movie shows how parents are always in conflict with their children. When I noticed the trailer, I said, that's not the kind of movie that I want my children to watch, because if they watch that, they'll think that arguing with parents is okay. Yeah. So that's why my children, when they were growing up, especially Fia, we don't let her watch Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network is, even though they are cartoons, they are not for children. Those are adult cartoons. So they bring values that are not useful for children. For example, when Sophia, my youngest daughter, was growing up, when she watched Cardcaptor Sakura, her behavior is quite calm and relaxed. Hey, Shama. And I'm watching Cardcaptor Sakura now, and now I realize, oh, no wonder it is relaxed, because in Cardcaptor Sakura, if you don't know, you check it lah. The main character, Sakura, she is very kind, very loving to her brother, to her father, to her friends, very cheerful girl. And when Sophia started watching Wings Club, I think Shaima was the first one to notice that her behavior started to be off. Macam mana Shaima? Behavior dia? Because the values that they bring through those movies, and we came to the point, I think Shaima pointed it out, then we said to Sophia to not watch those as well, because all of the stories contain beliefs and values. So as parents, you are the ones who need to make the decision, is this the right video clip that my child should watch? Because every clip will bring those values and beliefs. Yeah. So you want to be the director of the movies that comes into your child's life. Previously, our forefathers the only stories that are told are from our forefathers, our parents, our grandparents. Those are the people who bring in stories. Nowadays, YouTube, Netflix, TikTok are bringing more interesting stories than we can tell. So to be able to be aware of those. Okay, so this is where, from neurosemantics perspective, why it's important for us to bring in this storytelling to build beliefs and values is because it's the beliefs and values that create rapport between us and the child. And when there is loss of rapport, then there will be conflict and resistance. So that is why you notice in certain cultures, when parents are not concerned about what the child is consuming, because they're operating from different beliefs and values, that's why they are in conflict. So this is what we call meta or conceptual rapport. So to be able to bring into the child the beliefs and values that we hold dear, and to bring it to them in ways through storytelling, because storytelling is non-threatening. It's gentle. And as you continue to bring more and more stories about the same values and beliefs, the child just absorbs them. And that brings you to a higher level of rapport with your children, rapport at the level of beliefs and values. And that is why in coaching, one of the coaching forms of conversation is called the metaphorical conversation. So you have metaphors, using metaphors in the coaching conversation. So when you are familiar with the skills of coaching, so this is also one of the skill of coaching that parents can bring to the child using metaphors, which is storytelling. Okay, so what I would just like to do is just to, I would say, summarize the 5 items instead of 4. So there we are. Themes: togetherness, encouragement, autonomy, minimal interference, and the storytelling. Because the storytelling brings in the values and beliefs, and that strengthens the that strengthens the autonomy and also minimal interference. Because without the values and beliefs, giving autonomy to your child with minimal interference, it can be deadly. It can be dangerous for the child. So by using storytelling, you are giving the child the right beliefs, the right values, and because of that, you are giving the child the autonomy to make their own decisions. And when they are interacting with others, they are applying those beliefs and values. So you just take a step back, let them learn those skills, learn how to utilize their processes. So those are the 5 points that I would like to bring to you this evening. I'd like to open to questions or comments that if any one of you have about today's session. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that sharing. I think that's really helpful. And then I really like it when you ended with storytelling. My question is actually the title of session is about calm. You know, juggling between various hats that we have. For example, I haven't seen my office for the last more than 1 year. So to stay calm, actually, despite all these different strategies, sometimes it's not about handling the child, but handling ourselves. How do you think actually we are still able to cope with the ability to practice some of this method and then not losing our coolness, and then stay calm. How do you bring into that perspective as a coach or as a parent?
I don't quite get the question, Hurley. Can you just
I'm trying to relate to the topic of today, which is actually to stay calm. Of course, if you bring in togetherness, empowerment, and then bring in a lot of stories actually to encourage the conversation, I think that's really helpful. Sometimes we are just not ready actually to do that. How do you mentioned about maintaining the rapport, right?
Mm.
So sometimes the failures is not about the way the children receive it, but the way we present it.
Hmm.
How do you see that actually? Maybe people who have experience on this can share as well.
That is why at the very beginning, when I talk about togetherness and encouragement, I mentioned about the state. And from my personal observation, and maybe other parents have different observations, my personal observation, two key states for parents to strive to be in those states when you are interacting with your children. The state of love and the state of joy. So when you do things out of love and joy, you vacuum the home with love and joy. That causes your child to, can I do that? You cook the food for them with love and joy, and they will want to cook the food for you. So that's when you go into storytelling, when you bring the beliefs and values to your children from the state of love and joy, that makes it easy for them to be able to accept it. I wonder whether you have had the experience of having a strict teacher. I come from a background of boarding school, and the teachers that we have were really, some of them were really strict. Yeah? And it's just that those who are strict, whatever that they say to us, until today I can't remember what they said, because it is from that state of wanting to scold. So somehow whatever scolding that they gave me just went out. However, there are some teachers, when they teach, even though the way that they teach, they appear as if they are fierce, but we know they are not fierce. Deliberately, Mr. Tan Kim Ho is one of them. He wanted, we could feel that what he did for us is out of love. The beginning of fifth form, he's worried that we may not be ready for MCE, and he teaches math. He said, okay, those in boarding school, we don't go for tuition. So he come up with a tuition class, free. On Saturday afternoon, anybody want to learn mathematics, I start stupid class. Those who are stupid in mathematics, they come to the class. And our best student signed up for the class. And we go, wow, when also go for that class? So I have to go lah. However, because he does it from love. And we remember, when I say we, not just me, the whole batch of my batch, we remember Mr. Tan Kim Ho very well. We remember Mr. Lee Sai Su very well. And there's another teacher. When I want to say his name, just slip my mind. But these are the people who do it out of love. And there are the teachers, the warden, who always want to hantam us. And they are always there to give us nasihat one. I don't even remember what their nasihat is. So the states, we human beings, we communicate from state to state. So when you want your children to embody the values that you have, you communicate it from love and joy, they will take that lovingly and joyfully. So that's why it is a joy for her to do the laundry from A to Z. Yes, Ellie.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Ah, Satria, you know Tan Kim Ho?
He was still teaching when I went there. To school.
You were in
But
what?
he was almost retiring. I was in 95.
95.
Class of 95. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, he was very gentle and come from the perspective of doing it for love. So we even volunteer to help him teach other students on Saturday. Even though it's our outing time, but he said, okay, who want to volunteer? I think quite a bunch of us helped him out.
I mean, every time we think about Mr. Tan, you just feel that. You just feel that. And for some context, for those of you who are not familiar, the school is an all boys, all Malay school. And Mr. Tan, because of his love and compassion for us, he becomes an honorary old boy. Okay? So an honorary old boy. So that's a big achievement.
Yes.
Okay. So from 90?
95.
95.
Yeah.
So that's almost 20 years.
I mean, we couldn't believe, this man is so nice and, he's helping Malay boys. So, I understand. And also, I think I got the answer to the question I had earlier. So the adjustment should be in the beliefs.
Yes.
Probably the right story to give the right culture and belief. To not play games until late morning. Until early morning. In fact.
And to have the belief that they can make the right decisions when they have the right information.
Right.
People are not broken. They work perfectly well. It's just that they have not learned how to structure the strategies yet. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sue puts in over here, sometimes it is a challenge to refrain from letting kids make mistakes. It's important and learning from mistakes is valuable. Just that the typical overprotective nature of us as parents sometimes get in the way of letting the kids learn from their own mistakes. We must remind ourselves of the long-term effects or benefits of letting them know. Yes, thank you very much, Sue. Yeah. So the natural tendency for parents is to prevent the child from getting hurt or being harmed because they are making the wrong decision. So sometimes, like when I give you the example of my son, the 6 months that he was struggling to study STPM, we as parents, Rosita and I, we saw his struggle. It's painful for us, for both parents. When we saw him struggling, he wanted that very much. We saw his struggle. It was painful for us, but we had to hold back. because he needs to go through that pain in order to learn the lesson for himself. So sometimes as parents, this is, as Graham Richardson puts it, he used the term ruthless compassion. To a certain extent, we need to be ruthless to let the child go through the pain, because when they go through the pain, that is when they will get the learning that is going to serve them all that much better for the future.
Daddy, can I add in something?
Yes, please.
I think this might be able to help Mr. Hurley maybe a little bit. 6 years ago, when Azahra was 6, she's my first. Azahra was 6 and Muhammad was 2 and Yusuf was 1, right? You know, being a mom at home, I wanted to keep the house clean so that when my husband comes back, the house would be all neat and tidy. And it seemed that I wanted it all the time, even when my husband was not around. You know, because we have this, we give ourselves this pressure to, you know, keep the house in certain order all the time. And then one day I was getting annoyed with them making a mess, and I lashed out. I said, why can't, you know, you guys should keep the house tidy. This is my house. I want to see it nice, you know. And then Azahra looked at me, and then she asked very gently. That's why it touched my heart. That's why it left a big, such a huge impact on me. And then she innocently asked, "What about our house?" It, you know, the wall that I built just collapsed at that moment, and I just sat back and I said, "Oh yes, this is your house too." So that's when, whenever I have difficulty getting, trying to be patient with them, I remember that moment because at that moment I realized that I forgot to look at things from their perspective, from what they need, because they have their own pace, they have to grow in a certain way. So whenever I have that conflict, because the conflict is in me, you know, when I have that conflict of whether I want the house to be this way or that way, or I want them to speak this way or that way, I would, that experience gave me the what do you call that? The trigger to step back and ask, what about them? What are they thinking? How do they see it from their perspective? And how can we meet? Where is the point that we should meet from then? Thank you. I hope it helps.
Thank you, Shaima. To anyone else?
Yeah, I think the beliefs and values is the key cornerstone in our lives. Even at the age of childhood, at the age of high school, university, even you are 50 or 60 years old, sometimes the childhood in you is brought into your old age, you know, or senior age. And sometimes I exchange a conversation with my friends that, you know, when the husband starts to work on his PC, and the wife is complaining that he is wasting his time in front of the PC. Yeah. But in the husband's belief and values, the fact that she is in front of PC is doing some work for the good of the family. Yeah. Because the wife attributes that in front of the PC you are actually playing games because she associates a computer those days that when her kids play games is on the computer. Yeah. And that actually she carried that mindset all along, and that makes her think even until today. Oh, you spend so much time in front of the PC computer. Are you working or you are just playing? And it happened to one of my good friends, a school friend, and his son spent a lot of time on the PC. And later he realized his son is making money in front of the PC. YouTubers and YouTubers for the benefit of the mankind. Oh, he said he didn't know that. Yeah, I said you cannot perceive things that is true to you when you are 60 years old based on your old technology and techniques of getting income, and that is not the same with your son. Okay.
Thank you, Ashim. Thank you for that. Right, coming to the end, let us just, before we end, I would just like to invite each and every one of you just to say something about what we have covered. It is almost 10 o'clock already, 9:50. Typically, we go for about 1.5 hours. Now it's gone a little bit more. So just quickly to wrap up, I'd just like to invite Danielle. Is there anything that you would like to say before we wrap up?
I'd like to say thank you for your sharing tonight. I've learned a lot and I have no other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. And Franska?
Mazuki, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Franska. Jason?
Yeah, just a few things. I'm actually guilty of a few things which you have mentioned. So, so there'll be a lot for me to think about tonight on how to handle my little one tomorrow.
Thank you, Jason. Just enjoy the process. How about you, Marilyn?
I'm good. Thank you so much for sharing. A few things popped to mind, like the making mistakes, allowing our kids to make mistakes, because from my personal experience, just a quick share that when I went abroad when I was 16, within 3 months, my coach wrote to my parents and told them, Mr. and Mrs. Chua, you need to allow your daughter to make mistakes within 3 months. Yeah, so, and I think growing up, I became very indecisive because I wasn't allowed to make decisions. So I've learned a lot from that and how to raise our son. Thank you, Masuki.
Thank you, Marilyn. And Satria?
Thank you very much, Tuan Mazuki. So I think it's a very, very helpful talk. I think it's also I think it's helping me pivot now. I think recently, because our children are entering the teenage age, which can be even more difficult, right? So we are starting to become angry parents, which is something I don't like. And I think, it's probably a good point to start learning to do that better.
Thank you, Satria. Yeah. And Sarah?
Yeah, thank you so much for this. Because I have a teenager, I have a twin, and I have a preschooler. So I've got all the different levels of parenting here. And I think the teenager one is something that is like I have to learn and learn and learn because it's a new thing. So by the time the third one comes around, it's like, oh, this is easy, I've done all the mistakes with number one and number two. It's easy. But the number one, it's always difficult because it's always new, right? Because she keeps growing and growing. So yeah, and then I have all 3 girls. So you know what they say about the hormonal changes when they go into teenage years. But what you shared today was really good when you said don't be a commando, but ajak them to do things together. Okay, so that's a great reminder, not to tell them what to do, but rather invite them to do it together. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Sarah. Heli?
I think I'm good. I really appreciate the sharing from your daughter, Shaima. I think that gives both perspective from the father and also the daughter. And I think I was really struck because we've just moved to a new house a couple of months ago. My wife keeps saying that this is your father's house, because I decided almost everything, because then this is very strong point that there is no belonging. It's all about that. That's very dangerous. I think that struck me really seriously to my brain just now, that I need to start thinking, hey, what do you think if we do this? What ideas do you have in mind? That's very important. Otherwise it becomes like I'm just part of you. No, this is not part of us. So I need to rethink about it. I think that's really powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heli. Shaima?
Thank you. I've had a wonderful time. There was a lot that I learned. I took notes, so I'm happy with myself that I took notes. I hope I will go back to these notes a lot. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Daddy.
Thank you, Shaima. Hashim?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mas, and the rest of the members here. I think what you said as a parent, or rather as a grandparent, you need to understand the competency level moment to moment when you are dealing with your child or your whoever it is. And this resonates well with my daughter. She actually is a qualified and certified coach for swimming. And she always mentioned safety is number one when coaching children to swim. Yeah? And she needs to assess where is the capability of the children to float themselves. And that's where this knowledge of understanding at what level they are, competency, and you only intervene when there is some issue on safety, for example. So otherwise, let them do what they want to do. Give them the space to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Hashim. And Sue, anything you'd like to say?
No, it's an interesting topic. Thanks. Learned quite a bit. Sorry, it's a bit noisy here.
Thank you. So everyone, I appreciate all of you being here this evening. Sorry that we went over time. It's just that I hope that you gain something that is useful for you, and that may come in to be of use for you, not just for now, but also for the future. So with that, again, thank you, everyone. I hope to see you sometime, somewhere later. So with that, good night. God bless. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Bye.